to over the years by those happiest of regulators, the Democratic liberals. FCC commissioners, congressmen and senators, federal judges, men with the highest intentions have construed rules, laws, and decisions designed to make a media do right. They're going to make us do right, folks, but they are the one that says what the right is. This is your government. This is the United States I'm talking about. Get a hold of Congressman Sandman, will you? Get a hold of Congressman Hunt. Get a hold of your congressman tomorrow and say, I listen to Radio Free America. What you been doing to us down there? Give us our liberty back. Give WXUR back to Dr. McIntire and his people. Let them be happy. Give a permanent license to every radio station and get our men out from under the shadow and the cloud that they're living under. I'm reading from this article from Tulane University. It started out around 50 years ago in the early days of radio, when the new media looked more like an entertainment box in the homes than a source of news. And they've been tying government strings on broadcasting ever since. Folks, that's right, tying government strings on broadcasting. Now let me tell you about two other stations that are in trouble. One of them is out in King's Gardens in Seattle, Washington, a religious station. It's one of these sweet kind that never do anything to help anybody to have any
without the express written consent of the Philadelphia Phillies is prohibited. Now from Veterans Stadium, we're standing for the flag
and I thought the devil was wrong. Well, we asked that station if they'd carry my program, because my program hits hard, it's straight, it deals with issues. Oh no, they said we couldn't touch your program, doctor, we can't get into trouble. So they wouldn't carry the 20th Century Reformation Hour in Seattle on that station. Wouldn't do it. You know that this United Church of Christ, which has been after these fundamental preachers, went after that station of theirs, complained to the FCC. They said that they were a Christian station and they didn't hire any non-Christians. Therefore, there was discrimination in hiring. And the FCC ruled that that station would lose its license unless it agreed to hire non-Christians. The matter's in the court right now in San Francisco in the federal court. But what raises the question with me is, if the FCC is going to tell the owner of the station that it's a Christian station, you can't hire Christians. At least you can hire some, but you can't hire all Christians. Would we kindly ask the FCC to give us a standard as to who a Christian is, so we'll know for sure we're not making a mistake? And when does the government of the United States have the authority to tell you who is and who isn't Christian? And won't it be interesting to have the radio authorities from Washington coming to a Christian station and calling in the faculty, or rather calling in the staff, and saying, sir, are you a Christian? Yes. Well, let me ask you a few questions and test you. Wouldn't it be interesting to have the United States government determining who was not a Christian so they could operate a radio station? That's what they have got. Not only the next step, they're doing it now. They're doing it now. Now there's another fellow that's on the radio, has some programs. We don't hear him very much. He's Theodore F., but he's got a nice, sweet, lovely program. Never gets into any troubles that would catch on anybody's toes, you know. He's one of these nice preachers. You know, he's lost some of his stations over this, too. And in Lincoln, Nebraska, where he started out some 34 years ago, his number one station just last month put him on. They didn't want him anyway. They got scared. And he couldn't get a radio station.
Steve Carlson will pitch in bat ninth. Steve is the sweetest name in the umpires, John Kibler behind the plate, Frank Foley at first, Ken Burke and Lee Watson. We're all set for baseball. First game in a 5-game final homestand of the year. The Cardinals are going to be in. Here with the play-by-play now is And he whacks the first one way
Now,
down.
HEW in Washington, Bureau, complains against Bob Jones radio because they say they don't hire.
Not only just the part of his laugh, but the public.
And so the FCC says, all right, if you don't hire the proper
In Montreal.
blacks, you can't have a radio station. We won't give you a license.
And
furthermore,
next week,
but you're not to hire any more of your students.
a lot of fireworks.
Bob Jones has a radio station on campus which can't hire students, and they got their license temporarily extended for 1 year. So the FCC could watch them under penalty of losing their license. Now here we have a case where if you're going to enjoy your First Amendment right, we got to hire so many blacks. Well, if Congress wants to get into this question of percentages in hiring blacks, that's one thing. They can do it by law if they want to. But to use the radio as the indirect weapon to bring about the execution of certain social programs or social theories is another matter. And so before Bob Jones University can have the blessings of liberty under the First Amendment, they got to hire so many blacks. And before the station out in Seattle, Washington, King's Garden, can have the blessings of liberty under the First Amendment, they've got to hire so many non-Christians. That's what we've come to. Now, that's the fact. These are absolute facts. And I can tell them to you out here on this air, but if I got back on the mainland and started talking like this on the radio, all my stations would drop me because they don't want to get into these problems. And I can't tell you this kind of a story back on the mainland. I'm afraid to. Afraid to. Listen to that word coming out of my mouth. Afraid to. Now, lose radio stations. They'll drop your program. You can't get through to the people. They'll cut you off. This is going to be a day of broadcasting in the history of America. What we haven't done today to try to tell you people what the story is and what's going on. Let's give radio stations permanent licenses. Let's assign them a wavelength and then protect that wavelength by some statute so nobody can steal it or try to run off with it. And then let them go ahead and operate like they want to, carry whatever programs they want to. And if you don't like it, go out and buy yourself a station. There are plenty of stations for sale right now. There are all kinds of radio stations for sale right now. You can buy one. I'd like to go out and buy one. Unfortunately, when you lose one, you can't buy one. So we're ruined for life. Never will we be able to have anything to do with owning a radio station because WXUR died. Folks, we've got to get out from under this awful, awful tyranny that the bureaucrats have conjured up against us. We've got to dominate the getting the play. He's in the outfield. He's getting number 3. I'm a captain out here, or an admiral. Call it. Dr. Foley here. Bob Dickerson. Young Struthers is here. Bishop Stevens is here. Pastor Jack is here. We've had a great day, a great day. All right, we're anxious to see what kind of report we're going to be getting. We hope we can get one here at least in another hour and a half for you as to where this radio beam is going. This transmitter is just purring here like a nice, satisfied kitten, ladies and gentlemen. Really is doing its job. Radio Free America. Aren't you kind of happy? Aren't you jumping around a little bit? Now, we'll be able to improve this a great deal. Now that we've toured around a little bit, we went up to Atlantic City, folks. Went up that way. We've been cruising. We're cruising now. And it's now 22 minutes to 8, Radio Free America time. You're listening to Radio Free America, broadcasting from the high seas off the coast of the United States. Out here where freedom reigns. Out here where freedom still has not been destroyed by the government of the United States. You know, this ought to be some sober thinking to you people. We're not just talking. We're dealing with the most serious things that any people ever had to deal with. One of the stories on the front page of the New York Times today has to do with the budget for the military. President Nixon wants the budget to stand. He doesn't want to cut it. But he has brought the proposal for cutting upon himself because if everything's so lovey-dovey with Moscow and everything's so lovey-dovey with Red China, we're going to peacefully coexist. Well, why should we spend so much money? So he's created the situation himself. But I share his view on this matter that we should not cut the military. We simply should not cut it. You can't trust the Russians. And the story in the paper today is the Russians have now got some kind of a pop-up missile. Put these missiles in the silos and they'll come up with a certain pressure from below so they get right at the top and then they fire. And it's a pop-up missile and it gives them a firepower and also an advantage which we presently don't have. So that's to be used to encourage Congress to see that we get a strong military budget. When you start playing with the Russians, then the price is that you don't resist them. So right now, we're feeding them, we're financing them, we're subsidizing their shipping for them. Just $300 million in subsidies. That's all. $300 million American dollars to pay for the shipping of our grain to the Russians, which they bought it at home. They can sell bread in Moscow for 23 cents a loaf, while we pay 49 cents for it here in America. Thank you, ladies, for following my thinking. I'm glad you're willing to join us now. We were determined that we'd have a platform out here where we could talk about these things, and that we could first crusade to get the radio stations and the TV stations out from under these sanctions and out from under the threat of death. When one radio station is killed, the others have the possibility of the same type of experience. Let's get them out from under, get them out from under in a hurry. And please, ladies, please, sir, please don't take the attitude that it's a good idea to control them. Please don't get the idea it's a good idea to control them. Our fathers didn't have that idea. They wanted an absolutely free speech. And there are no conditions on your free speech other than the legal stipulations against slander and libel. But otherwise you can talk in this country. And when radio waves are as frequent as they are, we've got 8,000 stations alone. They tell us now that in these areas that there's unlimited possibilities. Before we get through, we're going to have all kinds of radio communication. The computers are entering into this deal too now. There's no limit. We don't need a government to regulate our state.